Greetings, citizen. Hey you, hey friend, welcome back. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Brittany. Welcome to my channel and welcome to HALLOWSTEIN. This is my 2020 Halloween series here on YouTube, running through the entire month of October, 2 videos a week on some creepy deepy stuff, and I'm so happy that you could find me here. I'm happy you could join us. I would love it if you would stay by joining the Brat Pack, ringing the bell, you know, subscribing, all that jazz. It's a good time here. I put out new videos every week, both true crime and beauty related, and I would love to hang out with you, specifically you. Fate brought us here, so subscribe. So, if you are new, or if you haven't seen any of the HALLOWSTEIN videos, let me just tell you what the gist is of what's happening. So normally we do a thing on this channel called Morbid Makeup. I tell you a true crime story, put on a full face of makeup. It's a really good time. But since it's October, I wanted to put a spooky twist on this. So what we are doing is I'm telling you the story that inspired a supernaturally charged popular horror movie that was, wait for it, based on a true story. Dun dun dun! And instead of beauty makeup, I'm gonna be doing a Halloween look, something that's easy, approachable, in case you're actually going out on Halloween in 2020, which I don't know. I'm not able to, but if you are, then maybe you'd like to recreate this because it's easy and approachable, you know? And this is our second to last HALLOWSTEIN video. If you're watching these in order, we only have one more left. It went by so fast, I can't believe it. I'm gonna miss it. I actually really liked it. Maybe I'll incorporate spooky stories in my normal video roundup. I don't know, but let me know if that's something you're interested in because I really enjoyed doing this. So, for today's video, the last 2 videos in the series I saved for stories I'm really excited about, to be honest. This is a really good one. Today's video is going to be on the terrifying true story that inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Now, if you have never seen this movie, bro, I know in all of the HALLOWSTEIN videos I was like, you should watch the movie that this is based on, but if I could recommend one, oh, I mean, they're all so good, but you need to see The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The movie itself is sort of a slow burn, but Jennifer Carpenter, Deb from Dexter, Jennifer Carpenter, her acting, truly terrifying. She plays the role of a girl who's possessed by 6 demons. 6 demons, bro. It's a lot of demons. And oh my sweet God, she is so good at playing this role. She is horrifying. There's a scene. Oh my God, there's a scene at the end, the barn scene. If you've seen it, you know, and if you haven't, you gotta watch it. And it is the only scene, there's 2. It's the only scene of 2 scenes that haunt me. Like, if I watch that movie before bed, I have to watch something else because that scene will stick in my head. It's that scene and it's the spider crawl from The Exorcist. Those are the 2 scenes in my life that actually, like, physically me, and this is one of them. And it's because it's such a terrifying story and apparently and allegedly true. But you know what? I'm just really excited and I just want to get into it. So let's do that, okay? So, come. Gather around my campfire, children, and let me tell you the terrifying true story that inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So our story begins in West Germany. Anneliese Michel was born September 21st, 1952, making her a Virgo, and she was raised by her parents alongside her 3 sisters in a heavily religious household. And when I say heavily religious, I mean heavily religious. Not only did they go to mass, church, 2 times a week, which is like, that's a lot of church. Well, they were also expected to not only repent and pay penance for their own sins, but all sins, for all the lost souls in the world. If they weren't gonna repent and ask for forgiveness and pay penance themselves, then Anneliese and her sister would be required by their family to do so. And I don't know if this is a normal thing in Catholicism, but for this family it was. It went so far as to even in the winters, in the cold, harsh German winters, and I imagine it gets pretty cold there. I've never been there, but I imagine it gets cold. Well, Anneliese and her sisters were required to sleep on the icy cold floor with like no blankets to pay penance for all of the souls who had lost their way to drugs. So, as you can imagine, I'm sure, growing up for Anneliese was not an easy peasy lemon squeezy type of experience, but even though it was a bit intense, she grew up happy and nice and had a good relationship with her sister and her parents. Well, her sisters, because there was 3 of them, and her parents. They were close-knit. As most religious families are, I find. As long as you are not, like, rebellious and you're, like, into the religion, I tend that seems to be the case. close families. Together by God and all that jazz. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit to 1968. Anneliese is now 16 years old, and out of nowhere, while she's at school, she blacks out. When she finally came back to, she asked her friends and fellow students like what happened, because she had no memory of what had happened to her, and they told her that she was just in a like zombie trance-like state all day, completely non-responsive. After that day, she didn't think about it that much. It was an isolated incident. She didn't lose time like that again, so she kind of put it in the back of her mind, moved on with her life. But unfortunately, things would get worse, and this wouldn't be the only time it would happen, and it wouldn't be an isolated incident. So a few months after this, it's 1979, Anneliese is now 17 years old, and the seizures and convulsions start. After the first seizure, her and her family rightfully and immediately go to the hospital, where she is diagnosed as epileptic, but it's a specific type of epilepsy. It's temporal lobe epilepsy, and they learned that along with this diagnosis, there would be very specific and interesting side effects that go along with the seizures. These could include memory loss, auditory, and visual hallucinations. So maybe this could explain what happens to Anneliese later, but then again, maybe not. You tell me, you draw your own conclusion, but they gave her medication and she was able to go off to university, so college. So while attending university, even though Anneliese was taking her medication as directed, her condition seemed to worsen. So at this point, in addition to the seizures, Anneliese did start having actual hallucinations. She started to see demons. She said she was seeing demons all over the place, and she started to believe that she herself was possessed by demons, and terrified, she voluntarily admitted herself into a mental hospital. While in the hospital, even though she was at this point under the care of, medical professionals, her condition just continued to get worse. The hallucinations became much more vivid and were coming much more often. She was seeing like full-on apparitions or floating faces of demons, and they would tell her that she was damned and that she would rot in hell or she would melt in hell. The vision seemed to happen and get much worse whenever she would pray, and she mentioned this to her doctor. She's like, hey, I know you said that there'd be like some hallucinations, maybe some stuff like this, but is this normal? And I guess they didn't think it was, because they put her on antipsychotic medication. Now, were these visions a result of the first medication, or were these actual visions of actual demons? I don't know. So with the seizures continuing and the medication seeming not to be working, she's still hallucinating, she's still having all of these issues, she went into a deep depression. And even though Anneliese knew that taking her own life was considered a mortal sin, she still considered killing herself. She considered committing suicide several times, very often. But somehow, despite all this, despite her not getting better and her thinking of committing suicide, Anneliese was discharged from the hospital and able to go home. But unfortunately, because her condition hadn't improved, the seizures and the demons and all that, they went with her. They left the hospital and they went home with her. So for years, Anneliese dealt with these visions and these conditions and all of this awful stuff going on to her, and doctors did everything they could, but nothing really seemed to be helping her. So during this time, Anneliese reached out several times to the church for help because she thought she was possessed by demons, but they would always be like, no, silly girl, go back, go deal with your medical problems, because this is a medical problem. So they weren't helping her. But during this time, because of the medical attention not helping and the lack of help from the church, her condition had gotten so bad. She would compulsively strip her clothes off like she was burning. She would do like hundreds of squats a day for some reason, and she would even crawl under her family's kitchen table and bark at them like a dog. Typical, I guess, epileptic behavior. I don't know, man. I don't have epilepsy, but that seems odd. You tell me. So, since, she was under the table barking like a dog and doing the squats and taking off her clothes, along with the demon visions and the seizures and all that, Anneliese's mom was pretty freaked out. So she started reaching out to the church herself, and she actually was able to find a priest who would at the very least come and, witness Anneliese, look at her, and get an actual determination on what was going on with her. So he came to watch her. And boy, did he see a lot while observing Anneliese Michel. So while the priest was there, he saw her tripping out, having her visions, hallucinations, seizures, all that. But he also saw her sitting on the floor in the corner, eating coal, eating spiders, and she would proceed to urinate on the floor and then lap it up like a dog. So, the priest determined that Anneliese was possessed by demons, that this was not a medical situation, her condition wasn't a medical problem, and that she needed an exorcism in order to rid her body of the demons. So he brought his findings to the church along with a letter written from Anneliese herself giving permission to perform the exorcisms. And in 1975, the first of 67 exorcisms on Anneliese Michel took place. I was not aware. See, in movies, they always make it seem like it's like a one and done exorcism thing, but every story I've read, it's like a whole thing. It's not a one and done. You gotta have several exorcisms. It takes a long time. And she had 67 exorcisms in her life. Poor girl. So, for 10 months, the priest that initially met up with Anneliese and a local priest that was provided by the church would exorcise Anneliese twice a week, but this was kept on like the hush-hush on the down low because the church didn't want people to know that they had approved an exorcism on a little girl. Gotta keep their noses clean, that Catholic Church, am I right? So during these exorcisms, Anneliese would be strapped to a bed to protect herself and also everybody else in the room. And they also made the smart choice to turn on an audio recorder during every exorcism so that there would at least be some auditory proof of what had been going on. So while being exorcised, Anneliese claimed that she was possessed by 6 demons. 6 freaking demons, dude. And this is the part where she admits what demons are inside of her. That's the part of the movie that makes me shit my pants that I was telling you about. Like, it's fucking terrifying. Can you imagine being possessed? First off, being possessed at all, and then by 6 demons? Rude. Anyways, Anneliese gave the names of these demons. We had Judas, Nero, Cain, Hitler, Fleischmann, and Lucifer in the flesh. Lucifer in the flesh, homie. No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. And during the possession, these demons would take turns speaking through her body. So she would wake up, open her eyes, she's Judas, open her eyes, she's Hitler. And I do mean Hitler, like Adolf Hitler apparently is a demon now, go figure. And he was inside of Anneliese. And according to Judas, one of the demons inside her, even in hell, Hitler's considered to be a piece of shit. They say that nobody likes him and that he thinks he has more power than he has and he likes to brag a lot. So Hitler still sucks even in hell, apparently. So during these 10 months, things did seem to look up for Anneliese a little bit. The exorcism seemed to be working, and she was able to return back to university, but unfortunately, the good times did not last. So by 1976, Anneliese was deteriorating again. The seizures were getting worse than ever, and at this point, she started to actually physically attack her family. And when her family wasn't available for attacking, she would start to actually just physically beat herself. Where before she would eat the spiders and the coal, at this point she wasn't eating anything at all. She had shattered her kneecaps because she would be in a standing position and then she would just kind of jump up, bend her knees back and let all of her weight land on her kneecaps, and then she would jump back up and do it over and over again, kneeling in prayer. Shattered her kneecaps. Ugh. And while all of this was happening, this is when Anneliese was under the care of the priests and also her parents, and though she'd broken her kneecaps and she wasn't eating, they did not get her medical attention for this and these problems. And that's likely because nothing had been helping her. They had tried the medical route, you know, for a really long time, for years, and nothing helped, so, you know, they lost faith and didn't go back that route. Anneliese was deteriorating right before everyone's eyes. She was under 100 pounds. She had pneumonia, she had a fever, but she told the priest that she was choosing to do this, that she wasn't letting the demons leave her body because she was being punished and repenting and paying penance for the sins of the world. The last of the 67 exorcisms took place in June of 1976, and Anneliese was in such bad shape that she couldn't even walk at this point. She had to be carried because her kneecaps were broken and she couldn't bend her knees. Anneliese's last known words were, Mother, I'm afraid, on the night of her last exorcism. And following that exorcism later in the night, Anneliese died at 23 years old, weighing less than 70 pounds. Apparently, due to Anneliese's death, her parents, along with both priests who had taken part in the exorcism, were actually charged with negligent homicide. The priests were actually charged and convicted of manslaughter due to negligence, but they didn't serve any time. Their time was waived. And the parents were let off altogether because they had suffered enough, which, I mean, the laws are different in Germany, but I feel like they definitely suffered plenty to watch your daughter go through that. Let me know what you think about that. Should they have gotten more time? I don't know. I don't know, friends. This is a super popular case in Germany, and probably for anybody who's, you know, seen the movie, it's popular as well, but in Germany it's particularly popular as it happened there. Apparently in Germany, buttloads of people will go and visit her grave. Like, busloads of people will come from other areas in Germany to come and witness the girl who went through so much tragic pain and who was willing to suffer so much to rid them of their sins, essentially. It's such a popular case in Germany that 2 years after her death in 1978, a crowd of people gathered at the cemetery where she was buried to watch two men dig up her grave. At the time of her death, her family didn't have a lot of money, so they had buried her in a cheap coffin, so they dug up her body so that they could put her into a nicer final resting place. But the point is, it's such a popular case there that people gathered to watch these men dig up her body so that they could just be there to see it happen. People are still that interested in her story, or were that interested in her story. If you're from Germany, please let me know if people are still very interested, because it has been a long time. So guys, that is the terrible story of Anneliese Michel, who inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's intense stuff, right? It's crazy. Even if the whole possession thing and all that's not true, it's still super sad because a girl did actually die from this story. This is a true story. Whether she was actually possessed, that's up to you. Do you think that her parents and the priest should have been held more liable for what happened to her? I just don't know. I go back and forth on that a lot. I don't know. Was it really their fault? It seems like they really wanted to help her, and this is what they legitimately thought they needed to do so. But was she possessed? Was she sick? I don't know. Doctors said she was sick, but their treatment wasn't working. And then if you hear, okay, so you can actually go on YouTube and you can search the exorcism tapes, and if you listen to them, I don't know, it's pretty compelling because it's horrifying. Horrifying. Discretion. Like, no going in that it's very scary, but you can look up the tapes of the recordings. It's not a fun ride. If you look online, you can also find photos of her during the exorcism and how much she changed physically. Just know that, like, you can't unsee or unhear this stuff, and it's pretty intense. So that, my friends, is Anneliese's story. Do you think it's real? I don't know. I don't know. Because if I saw somebody doing the stuff she was doing, I would think she was crazy, and they thought she was crazy, but, like, I don't know, the medicine wasn't working. I don't know. Let me know what you think, because all I know is that it's Halloween. It's spooky season, and I had a lot of fun looking into it. This is a case that has always really interested me, and I've looked it up in the past, but I looked it up, you know, and got all the details for you for this video, but I really like it. It's Halloween, it's spooky season. Doing these types of videos is fun. Creating this look was fun. This is the look, by the way. What do you think? I am a fan. I think it looks super cool. I've always wanted to do this specific look, and I think it turned out pretty cute. I put a little glitter on the eye because, you know, I have to make it a little pretty also, but I think it turned out very, very nice, and time to go purging in the street. I mean, 2020, who's to say that that will not happen? Because if he wins, we riot? No, I'm not threatening. I'm predicting, maybe. But yeah, guys, that completes this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it was entertaining and spooky and makes you think and makes you wonder and fulfilled all your Halloween spooky needs. Please, of course, let me know down below what true crime cases you would like to see once HALLOWSTEIN is over, because guys, This is the second to last video, which means in 2 weeks time, 1 week time, regular content comes back up. So please let me know what you would like to see. I have a list, I have some stuff planned, but you have great ideas, you have great taste. I'd love to hear your ideas. If you didn't have good ideas and good taste, you wouldn't be here. Please make sure to join the Brat Pack by subscribing and ringing that bell, because I put out new videos every week, both true crime and beauty related, and I'd love to hang out with you. And of course, just thank you. Thank you for being here for my first ever Halloween series on YouTube. Thank you for being here when you could literally be anywhere else in the world. You're tight, this is tight, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye.